Welcome to Modern Homestead Alaska. I'm Jessica. If you are new around here, thank you for joining us today. I have a very fun, exciting video planned, and we're gonna start off in the kitchen, but we are headed out to the greenhouse in the first week of May. Here in a zone 3, that's kind of crazy, but I have a really cool plan that I want to show you guys. And I'm making a fantastic spring dinner by the end of this video. So I hope you choose to stick around. Let's get right into it. So we're gonna start with the dessert. We have to make the components for the cookies in order to let part of it completely freeze. So before I head outside, I thought, you know what, let's freeze the centers, and we'll come in and we'll make these cream cheese and wild Alaska blueberry lemon cookies. Don't that sound amazing? There's a lot of elements and some layers in it, and I've taken some help from things that I have previously made with my own wild blueberry jam instead of making it store-bought or with fresh blueberries, because there's no in-season blueberries up here right now. So the first thing we have to do is the cream cheese discs or filling for these cookies has to be frozen completely solid. So let's start with the cream cheese filling. So the recipe calls, this is 8 ounces of cream cheese, and it said it wanted it cold, and I already put in the bowl 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. I only need 6 ounces of the cream cheese. So 6 ounces is right there. Let's take that little chunk off. Save it for a bagel. And then put the 6 ounces into the sugar. We're gonna mix this together. I went ahead and grabbed the hand mixer out so that I can whip the cookies up really quick in that bowl. But it also calls for a little bit of vanilla. I have this beautiful vanilla bean paste from Trader Joe's from a trip to Vegas when I went to see my mom and grandma. So a good dab of that in there, and I thought it would give like a little vanilla bean look to it. All right, tidy as we go. Move that. So it said to do it cold, and it said to just kind of mix it up. So let's start slow. That's done already. Pop those in the sink. All right, so it says 22 tablespoons, and my drawer is a mess. I think this one is the only scoop I have, and it's too big. So we will use a little spatula and a measuring. There's 1 tablespoon. 2 teaspoon portions. You guys, okay. Hello, dyslexia. I'm like, that is not working. Scoop it back in. Fine. Teaspoon. 2 teaspoons is about a half a tablespoon. So let's just try this instead. Then I'm not having to double. All right. 1. All right, we have 20. Just with damp fingers, I'm just gonna try and shape them up. All right, into the freezer. Perfect. Okay, let's mix up. We're gonna season this. I have to show you guys, I got something new here. Okay, we are gonna mix up the cookie dough part now and just let it sit in the fridge. I already have my flour out, but we're going to start with 1 cup of granulated sugar and 1 cup of butter. And we're gonna do kind of a standard vanilla cookie dough. However, we are gonna add the lemon into the cookie part. Now, I'm gonna share this Pinterest recipe with you, and it is, like I said, it's gonna call for blueberry jam that you make that's gonna take like 40 minutes, and you just use blueberries and sugar. Well, that is what is in here. So we're not gonna do that, and if you don't already have some blueberry jam, you'll have to make that. We're gonna let the butter and sugar go for a couple of minutes. All right, we let our butter and sugar go until it's nice and creamed together, and we will scrape down the sides and then zest 2 tablespoons of lemon. Out of my way. So I'm just gonna do it straight into the bowl. So I'm just gonna zest 2 lemons into this bowl. We don't want any of the white part, just the really bright yellow. And I always think you cannot have enough lemon zest. And that will be perfect for lemonade or anything else that you want the juice for. So perfect. All right, to the lemon zest, the sugar and the butter, we're gonna do 1 egg and some vanilla. And we'll zip this up and move on to the dry ingredients. All right, for our dry ingredients, we have 2 3/4 cups of flour here. We're gonna add, let me double check, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Perfect. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. If your baking soda's got lumps in it, just take it, smash it in your hand with your spoon, scrape it in. Baking soda is like, what a weird sensation if there's a lump in it. Have you ever had that happen? I know that I have bit into something where the baking soda had like a little lump, and it's like a zing inside of your mouth. Whisk that together so it's evenly distributed throughout the cookie. And then in we go with, let's start with about 1/2. And you just wait for it to kind of come together. We'll scrape it at the end and finish mixing it. But as soon as you see the dough sort of absorb the flour, then we just go in straight with the second 1/2. Again, I'll just wait for it to start to come together, and then I'm gonna scrape the sides and finish bringing the cookie together. So it's gonna be a very stiff cookie dough before we add everything to it, and that is so we can put those discs of cream cheese in the center, and the blueberry jam is gonna add a lot of moisture to the cookie. All right, there we have it. We have all of our elements of our cookie ready to go. I went ahead and reread the directions, and we're gonna go ahead and do the adding of the blueberry jam part now. So what it wants us to do is, it says 3/4 of the dough. So we're gonna divide it into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start with this big one in the bottom. I took my rings off so that I can kind of smash it. And then it wants us to add the jam. So I've smashed the dough down there. I'm gonna open my wild blueberry jam, and we're going to do 1/3 of it because we have 4. Okay, there we go. So put 1/3 of the jam in the bottom. And then it says put 1/4 of the dough on top. Now jam. Jam. And then the rest of the dough. So down the center, pull one of these out and slightly well, that is messy as all get out. That works for me. If you are new around here, you will not notice. If you have been with me for a while, there has been something in my kitchen that has driven me absolutely bonkers every single time that I'm editing, and I have hated it since the day it happened. The center of this was a different pan, and it was a non-stick pan that came with the stove, and it was scraped up. So every time we used anything on it, metal, so on and so forth, it just scraped that coating off, and I literally hated it. I have been for over a year checking with the manufacturer. So GE makes this range, and they have been out. And I have tried to get it replaced. Well, I finally went on and put, you know, the codes and so on in Amazon. So bear with me for a second. This centerpiece was over $100 plus shipping through the manufacturer, even though it was out of stock and they didn't have it. I found a cast iron one for $50 off of Amazon. And so this is solid cast iron, ready to go. It pops in to the same space, the same size and everything that was here before, and it is never going to scrape, scratch, any of that. However, I did wash it, but it does need to be seasoned. So while we get our side dish going, it's gonna be a beautiful salad that we're gonna make with some fresh spring ingredients. I'm going to start seasoning this by turning it on high. There we go, we got a big fat flame there. Start heating this up. I have some beef tallow, because what I want is this to be seasoned and ready to go when my family needs to use it. And then I'm gonna treat it the same way I do all of my cast iron pans. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting the tallow on it. And then throughout the day today, what I'm gonna do is when I come into the house, I'm going to just go ahead and turn it back on, wait until it starts smoking, and I'm gonna put a little bit more tallow on it. Wipe off the excess once it's heated. But isn't that so much better? I just absolutely hated that scraped up center there. We live in a fairly new home. The range was new, and then it just was one of those items. So I'll leave it in the link. The odds of you having my same stove and needing to replace your centerpiece are actually really, really low. But the fact that you could get a cast iron one that fits in so well, oh, doesn't that look so much prettier? The other thing I got was a light bulb for the oven. The light had burnt out, and I was like, okay, while I'm ordering this, I might as well get a light for my oven. I also have drove myself crazy, but I just don't think about it when I set the camera down and I go to editing, then I go to edit and I'm like, I wish there was a light in the oven so people could see what is in there. So there we have it, two beautiful things. However, we're gonna start on, it's gonna be an orzo salad, and I need to cook the orzo, so we'll get some water going. All right, big pot of water. Probably don't need that much because it is orzo and it's a smaller pasta. However, this is going to, or it came about as what was the minimum ingredients I could buy. Well, this upstairs freezer ends up being kind of a catch-all, and so I've started working through it. I've already gotten some meat out of there this week. I grabbed some chicken out, and I was like, what do I have that needs to be used up, and I don't need to buy a bunch of ingredients. And so for the chicken, I was like, oh, we need to use some feta. Well, I have 2 blocks of feta, so I found a recipe. I also have these 2 shallots that need to be used up. And so I was like, okay, I have a box of orzo, I have shallots, so all I would really need is the asparagus and the arugula, and so we grabbed that. Now, it doesn't call for lemons, it calls for a vinegar, but I'm going to use the lemon juice instead of the vinegar, simply because we just zested them and need them, but I'll link these recipes as well. And then this evening, we're doing a hot honey chicken with some feta, and I thought carry some of those notes through each thing, and it will be a lovely, beautiful spring dinner. I don't think the camera's picking it up because the GoPros aren't good at that, but I have wisps of smoke, so I'm just gonna go ahead and shut that off, let it cool down. Like I said, every time we come in, we'll just pop it. So let me get set up. So here's the ingredients. So it calls for the feta, some basil, some arugula, the asparagus, the shallots, and it calls for peas. I do have peas, but I have these peas and carrots from Azure. It says either frozen or defrosted. Well, I'm just going to use this because this is what I have upstairs. Get that out of the freezer. And then it only calls for 8 ounces of dried orzo, which is about 2.5 to 3 cups cooked. Well, I'm just gonna use the whole box, the whole pound. And that is gonna make it a little bit simpler. Feta cheese, salt and pepper, and that's basically it. So basically we're gonna make a crispy shallot vinaigrette. So the first thing I need to do is 1 shallot peeled and thinly sliced. I have 2, but we're also using the whole box of pasta. What I thought would be nice is we still have this huge project going on outside, and as we head into the weekend, oh my gosh, by the way, happy Mother's Day if that applies. This video is coming out on Saturday, so it's a day early, but you may not get to it until later. But if that applies, happy Mother's Day to you. With that, I thought having a couple of things on hand, a little salad, because we won't eat the whole thing tonight, would be nice to come in and be able to have a decent salad with a sandwich, something like that for lunch this weekend, while we're working in the yard, of course. So there's 1 shallot. I personally feel like shallots are one of the most underrated and underused things in the kitchen, only because it doesn't exactly taste like garlic, and it doesn't exactly taste like an onion. It has its totally own flavor, and so I truly enjoy shallots. So I always grab a couple here and there when we're at the store, along with the garlic and the onions and all of that. But I just hardly see, and I watch a lot of cooking. I mean, there's shallot recipes, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying no one's ever cooking with them, and they grow tons of them. So, I mean, obviously people use them, but I just don't see a lot of shallot inspired recipes, and I think we should do a lot more of them. The water's coming up. That is warm. It says watch the shallots because we just want them crispy, but we don't want them to burn. So we're gonna just stir them constantly. And then we're gonna use what is left in the pan for the oil to toast up some asparagus here in just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little salt and pepper to the shallots themselves. It's a big recipe, and so we'll probably need a little bit more with the dressing. I'm gonna go ahead and salt the pasta water while I have the salt out. Our shallots are browning quickly, but we're gonna go ahead and get the orzo in. The water is boiling. And we'll bring this salad together warm, and then I think you could probably serve it warm or cold. We're going to serve it cold. I'm just gonna let all the flavors marry while I am out in the greenhouse. Perfectly brown and crispy. There we go. We're gonna help end the cooking process really quickly by some lemon juice. Now it calls for red wine vinegar, like I said, but I have all of these lemons. I need an acid, and I think lemon, orzo, arugula, basil, mustard, asparagus, peas, all of that together, beautiful. So I did 2 of the lemons. I think I'll save one of them, just kind of some lemon water or something like that today. Because that is those were super, super juicy. Okay, what else? We're gonna do Dijon mustard. A couple of tablespoons of that. Dijon mustard, red wine vinegar, kosher salt. Half a teaspoon it says, so like that. Then pepper, and that's it, that's the dressing. Let me grab a whisk. Let's taste this. That is bright, that is robust. I'm gonna put about 1/4 of it in a separate bowl so that if it happens to absorb all of the dressing, then just before serving, I have a little bit more to kind of moisten it all up. Do you know how to separate the woody part from the top tender part of asparagus? You just bend it until it breaks. The bottom of this is very, very woody, and this is kind of big asparagus. The smaller around they are, the more tender they are, but this is what we had. So letting that shallot oil come back up, and we're gonna just put a rough chop. So I did that to all of the asparagus, and now they're all kinds of lengths and sizes. But I'm gonna just chop it like so, leaving a few bigger tops. And try not to cut too much into them because I hate it when everything falls off the top. Okay, go in with that, and we're just gonna kind of brown it a little. Then I'm gonna show you another trick. I make a ton of pasta salads with peas, carrots, all the different things. So the orzo is done, or close enough. And so to defrost all of this, not really cook it through because I don't need to, since it's frozen. I'm just gonna pour this bag in, swirl it around, and as soon as it boils, the carrots and peas are cooked enough for the salad. Otherwise, you can just shut it off. But there we go. All right, the orzo, the peas, and carrots started coming up to the boil, and so that just means it's done. Now, because I'm not serving this salad hot, I can rinse the pasta a little bit, and it won't absorb as much of the dressing because it's kind of a light dressing. Let that aside for a sec. Now come over here and we'll finish the ingredients. All right, so we're gonna do 1/4 cup of fresh basil. So I'm just gonna strip it off like so. Plenty big stems. Give this. Just run my knife through it. But you can rip and tear basil. So basil in. mint. So, I've got the scissors. I'm just gonna go to my plants in here and give my mint a haircut, and it'll just sprout right back out. Okay. So fresh mint from our plants over there. Perfect. Yeah, someone's like, your plants could use a haircut. Yes, they certainly can, and they will rebound. So before we even get any of this outside, we can just trim off some of these herbs. The tomatoes can get cut down if we want. Okay, so fresh mint in the feta. Okay, so I'm just gonna break this up by hand. I love feta. Some of you don't care for it. There's a lot of other crumbly cheeses out there, like blue cheese would be fantastic. Drawn a blank on what the rest of them could be, but because I like feta so much, I have no problem with it. Now this is a feta that it's got the liquid in it, but I just get it from Azure. How much arugula? 4 to 5 cups. I'm just gonna run my knife through it, like real. There we go. I'll use all of this. All right, I decided to mix the salad in my giant bowl so I don't have it going everywhere, all over the countertop, and then I'm gonna put it back in the serving bowl and just leave that in the fridge. All right, to this. Look at that. Round asparagus. Perfect. I love asparagus. In the orzo and the peas. Well, peas and carrots. All right, friends, I'm gonna check it for salt and pepper. I need to make sure I get, okay. I want a pea, a carrot, and an asparagus. It doesn't need any. I just got a mint and a piece of basil in that one. That is amazing. That is so fresh and bright. Oh, that's gonna be good. I like the way it kind of wilted down the arugula just a little bit. Put it in my serving bowl. I have a little dressing for when we do serve it this evening. Okay, so now you can see it fit right back in the bowl, no problem. I'm gonna cover this and pop it in the fridge. Don't look now, I don't even know who I am. I have all of the rugs clean. I've mopped the floor today before I even started filming. I went ahead and did the dishes so that when we come in, it is clean and ready for us to hit the kitchen. We have the cookies ready to piece together. We have our side dish is already in the fridge. And now we're gonna head out and do that project. So I'll grab what's left of my morning drink, a hoodie, because we're gonna get dirty. I'm gonna look for my apron and meet you out in the greenhouse. All right, I made it out here and I went ahead and popped some screws because I have these 2 tables that are collapsing in the mud. I have shown this on a previous video and I have all of my grow bags here. And here is what my plan is. I am going to be able to move all of the plants out here and harden them off in the greenhouses because I have ordered 2 little heaters for this greenhouse. However, it does get so much airflow right now, obviously, because the top isn't on. But when the top is on, it still gets so much airflow that I kind of want to trap the bottoms a little bit, let the heat come in, and then they'll start getting used to the outside light, and they'll stay warm overnight and all of that. But this is going to be the greenhouse that we plant in this summer. So with that said, we can, because it's 50 degrees out and not raining today, yesterday, day before, not yesterday, whatever day it was, we got the raspberries. Kind of stood up here like that, trying to avoid walking in the garden. I can't use the excavator, so I cannot even be working on those spaces. I have so much that I can and can't do either by myself, weather permitting, it's too early, whatever the case is. However, when it comes time to plant out here, we try and get it all done in one weekend, and that is absolutely bonkers. However, I think if we get this greenhouse set and ready today, then we're going to be in much better shape. Well, my plan was, because those who are following know, everything on the other side of the garden, from the cow barn all the way to the chicken coop, is getting reworked. The dirt, all of it, every tree you see between my house and myself is going away. I have an appointment next week with the tree guy for, we're gonna strategically place some trees that will get like really big and get privacy. That's neither here nor there today. But all of that is getting cleared, and I was like, oh, I should move the greenhouses, because where they sit right now, they get a lot of shade, and it makes it kind of difficult. Plus, they don't get super, super warm. I was wondering what that noise is. I think it's the neighbor boy on his little dirt bike. Anywho, okay, so I was gonna just flop it over there, and then it made no sense, because eventually we would like to grow something big, beautiful, not grow, build a really specific greenhouse. More on that when we can make those plans. However, instead of using that land over there, which will now get full sun, we're gonna just go ahead and work with what we have over here and not move these greenhouses. Now, the other greenhouse, again, I may use it, may not. What happened last year, some of these plants got too big. We weren't gonna use that one because it had such an aphid issue in it the year before. So I did end up having to stick the overflow plants out there. My two little tables here, like we were just saying, sunk into the mud. They're a big mess, and I'm on a super slope. If you can see that, just slope right there towards the lake like they should be. And I got like 50, 70, there's over 100 grow bags in here. They need to be moved out of the way. And what our plan is today, and we're gonna get to it right now, is I'm gonna move all of this. I'm gonna bring some cardboard in, and I'm gonna rescue wood chips, that if I don't rescue those wood chips and use them in this greenhouse, they are just going to turn into soil. They're just going to be moved around with the excavators and everything else. And I thought, oh, what a waste, because this is muddy, it doesn't drain right, and it's all going to end up moving and going away eventually. What can I use for free to make this better for myself? So let's get to work. The first thing I'm gonna have to do is move all of these grow bags out of here. This will be the second time I move them, and hopefully the next time I move them, we will be filling them. Then I'll move these tables, and we'll get to doing the floor in this greenhouse. All right, so what I've been doing is I've kept the big soil bags, and we've talked about this before. but I will dump them into like a wheelbarrow, and I will add fresh compost or worm castings, fresh soil in it, and kind of revitalize the soil in those grow bags, because it can be thousands of dollars up here to get compost and garden mix soil delivered to your house. In fact, the first year we did the garden, it was thousands of dollars in soil. So I reuse the soil everywhere we go, and we've talked about that I'm real picky on the fertilizers, even if they're flower pots, because I'll dump the soil in the garden. And because we already cleaned up the raspberries, we have fresh little baby raspberries sprouting out of the ground. So I am just adding these smaller bags of compost to the garden. In the beds, I'm just straight dumping them because Erin will till what you see in there. I'll clean up anything big on the top surface. So I am dumping it right where it is straight soil. And if there's any grass or weeds or something growing, I'm pulling that first before I'm dumping the soil, because I don't want to mix the weeds back into the garden, if you will. So I am dumping these on the raspberries just to make that bed super lush, kind of. Oh, you have some dirt. I'm sorry. There we go. Just adding to the raspberries, building it up, and this compost is from last year's garden, and so it's going to be just absolutely fine, and the raspberries are really going to appreciate a fresh bit of compost. So I've kept all of the big bags though for the tomatoes that are inside, and there's not a whole bunch other that we have to grow in the greenhouse, other than tomatoes, peppers. Anything that is like a warm weather crop has to be grown in a greenhouse up here. However, I do have some tomatoes that want to go in bags and they want to go in the garden. So I have set aside what I believe is enough grow bags for all of that. Any of the bigger several gallon bags I'm saving, and then any of the 2-3 gallon grow bags are being dumped in the garden. So that's kind of what you see me doing right now. It is killing my left elbow for some reason, and I think it's the way I yank the bags up. I have got to get my body in gardening shape, and it is one of my favorite things on earth to do. So I got that done. I saved all my pots over there. They'll end up coming back in here, and now I'm gonna take these tables out, just set them to the side, and we're gonna get going with the next step. There is so much water. I do not want that going. All right, these are my wood chips from last year. I just put some cardboard down because I got so sick I cut through this little walkway to get to the cow and the back of the garden and all of the different things. And I was tripping over like tree roots and just weeds and all of that. And as you can see, nothing grows up in it. And that is a good thing because it absorbs the water. It flushes all of it away. So my walkways are not super soggy, and with as much rain as we get up here, you can have the soggiest walkways. So I have my feed sack base going on to the greenhouse over there, and now I am going to rescue as much of these wood chips as I can, and they're just on top of the cardboard. So I'm not worried about it because when Wyatt comes through with the excavator, all of this would have gone to waste anyway. So this is a great thing for me to walk on in that garden or in that greenhouse and use all of my wood chips. So I'm going to try and rescue these. So I'm just gonna fill a wheelbarrow. All right, hopefully this is my last load. It is killing my back. Oh, I got myself in a little bit too deep today, literally. Here we go. So I'm gonna spread this one out. Got my tarp kind of pulled up and drying, and then I'll have Aaron help me get it stretched out this weekend. But, whoo, man. I am not gonna lie, I got halfway into this project and wanted to quit. Woo, that was exhausting. The bar is still on the other side of the plastic, so I obviously can't lift it and do it myself. But Aaron and Wyatt can help me with that this weekend, and then I can use a hose and get everything all washed up and tidied. And we have the heaters coming. I'm gonna move these tables back in here. Those are heavy too. How many 2x4s? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, say 10. That's like lifting 12, 13 2x4s by myself at one time. So I'm gonna get them in here, but I did think I might do one along the back and then one along the side, and just do it a little bit different than before. But this is nice. This is gonna be so nice. Keep the mud down, keep all the runoff down, and it is going to make it look really, really beautiful in here when we get to actually having plants outside. So I am pretty excited with this. Like I said, we have that wood over there that's drying out. Part of it's going to go in the chicken coop, and then we just have a whole bunch of it. And so I'll bring you along later, and we will border this greenhouse here. However, it is like 6 o'clock now. We got out here at 2. It is 6. We have to go in, make the cookies, and finish dinner. So I'm going to set these in here real quick, and then you and I will head back to the kitchen. Perfect. Here we have it. Done for right now. That was a huge project today. All right, we're gonna get going on the cookies first, and it says $3.50. Perfect. And because we are supposed to make 20 cookies, I think, even though it says cook 6 cookies at a time and we're gonna roll them and a whole bunch of other stuff, I think what I'm gonna do is, these are gonna be super messy to make. So I'm gonna portion out 20 cookies first. Okay, so there's hardly any dough left after I separated it into 20, but some of them are a little bit thin, and that'll be perfect because we can cover it over. And then I need to get out the discs of cream cheese. All right, so it also wants us to roll them in sugar. So I've combined some organic sugar with some turbinado sugar. The organic sugar will take up a little more space, but turbinado sugar is kind of fat, chunky sugar crystals. Nice. This is not health food by any stretch of the imagination. So mix that up, and then we have our 20 little discs there and our cookies. So what I think I'm gonna do is take the cookie and use the back of a, kind of shape them in my hand. It says flatten them out, because it wants us to completely cover the cream cheese. There we go. So the cream cheese. There we have it. Put that in the sugar and onto a baking sheet. So we're gonna bake it at 350 for 10 minutes. Look at those. Because I only wanna do this once, these are so messy, I'm going to go ahead and finish pulling these together, and then I'll bring you along in 10 minutes and show you how they turn out. Set a 10-minute timer. While the cookies bake, we're gonna do a stovetop hot honey feta chicken, and obviously you can leave out the feta if you want some other kind of cheese, or you can just do regular honey instead of hot honey. So what I'm gonna do is just clean up. It calls for 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Well, there's 3 of us, plus we like leftovers. And I'm gonna split mine in half. So it's technically, we're gonna have 6 of them. So for the seasoning, it calls for garlic powder and paprika, salt and pepper. So just sprinkle that on and let the chicken absorb a little bit of the flavor before we flip it over and get it going in the pan. A little salt. And pepper. And then I'm gonna pat it in here in just a second and then let it sit, flip it over. We have 1 more batch of cookies to go in after this one, and I will show you them. They actually turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna put a couple of tablespoons of avocado oil in. I need to refill my jars that I normally keep up there. Start preheating that. The chicken has been resting. I just moved it off so that I could wipe everything down. Cookies are gorgeous. So I have some ripples in the oil, so I'm gonna turn it down to a medium and lay in the chicken. Because I only wanna use 1 pan and I wanna work in batches, I am going to set aside the first half. Actually start with the biggest ones. We'll do 3 per batch. I'm gonna give it 5 to 6 minutes per side. Flip it over. I'll pop these in the oven while we do the next ones. I just wanna make sure all the chicken is cooked all the way through, because we're gonna add it to some honey and butter, and then we're gonna top it with some beautiful herbs and feta once it comes out of the pan. However, this is gonna take at least 5 minutes per side on medium heat. While the chicken is going, I'm going to get some fresh herbs and add those to the feta. That's going to be what we top it with. I have some rosemary, some thyme, and you know what? Erin bought me that giant bag of lemons, which is a lot. That was loud. It's a lot of lemon for, I don't know what I'm gonna use all that lemon for. Here we go. So I think I'll zest and juice one of the lemons. Gonna add that for a bit of bright freshness. So I have a bowl. When the rosemary is fresh like this, even the stems are super soft. It's not woody, but we do want it little. So what's gonna happen is when it hits that hot, fresh chicken right out of the pan, it's going to be very, very aromatic, and it'll kind of wilt it and cook it down a little. So rosemary, and I have some thyme here. A bunch of that. Look at that. Let's use that whole thing. So normally Erin and I go out on Friday nights, but I was filming this, so I was like, no, I'll make a beautiful dinner. But man, this is a perfect little date night sort of dinner. Wyatt just got a call. One of his friends, her mom decided to throw her birthday party, so he's gonna go to that. I have the feta here. I'm gonna crumble it into the rosemary and thyme. All right, I swapped the chicken, and we're just gonna zest the lid. And the oil from the zest is just going to be bright and fragrant with the tart richness of the cheese, the herbs, or that earthy element. Oh, I've never had this before, but I can tell you, it's gonna be good. What did I pull? I pulled the chicken out. Now we need a little butter. Try not to bump the camera. We don't want to burn it. All right, to this, I've decided I'm gonna throw in what's left of those herbs. So the stems will give plenty of flavor. And cooking versus baking, cooking is a method. Baking is an actual measured recipe. However, we call all of them recipes, obviously. But I know if I brown these herbs in this butter, it's going to just give off plenty of flavor. And we want to scrape up any bits from the chicken, because we're going to cook it in this sauce in just a minute. In the meantime, this is homemade hot honey versus like a store-bought, but you can use a store-bought or just use regular honey. So basically it is honey infused with some spices and some, for me, like red pepper flakes. And we're going to put all of what I have left in here, and I can start infusing a new honey to this. Oh, I can smell those herbs. That's beautiful. I'm gonna use these lemons. I will share all of the links from where I got the inspiration from. However, I take liberties with everything that I possibly can, or I just use what is in our pantry, in our house. What do we have on hand, able to just get used up? And it's super easy when you have a fully stocked pantry, which is what I've taught on this channel for a long, long time. It is easy to grab one little thing here and there and then be able to truly make entire meals that are lovely like this. Just a few things. I think we got some herbs and the lemons and the asparagus from the store, and that is it. Everything else was already in-house. It's infused, the stems have infused. I don't want to fight those with the chicken, so we'll pull those out. If there's a few left in here, no big deal. And now I'm gonna pull the chicken and put it in here for a few minutes. I've gone ahead and left the oven on because some of these breasts are really, really big. And I want everything to cook all the way through. Well, I can just pop those in the oven and pull the smaller ones out with the sauce, the juice and the flavor into the pan. Now I'm gonna clean up, and in 3 or 4 minutes, I'm gonna come, rotate it, turn the pan, do all of the things, and let that gooey, it's going to turn into like a glaze for the chicken, and it's just gonna cook in that. I'm gonna temperature the chicken, the fattest part, and I'm looking for like at least 165. That one's 161, 166. This tiny one here is at 190. So that is done. So I'm gonna pull that one aside. Oh, it's making a beautiful glaze. Look at that. Keep rotating. Our pasta has been resting, and it is a little bit dry, so I'm gonna put the rest of that dressing on it. Oh, it smells so good. I can smell the roasted vegetables in it. That shallot. I popped one of the chicken breast in the oven, the big fat one. Everything else came up to temperature. So I'm gonna roll them all one more time and then save a little bit of the cheese and such for that. Shutting it all off because we're not actually cooking or putting the feta in the oven or baking it. And then we're just gonna top all of the chicken. All right, let's plate it up. Aaron is home and we are ready to eat. Look at that chicken. Okay, and then our orzo pasta. And there it is. Now one for me. All right, perfect. Before I let you go, let me show you the cookies. I went ahead and popped them in the fridge. Aaron broke one open, but they're really beautiful, you guys. Look, you can see the cream cheese discs in the middle, and they're actually really yummy. So even though these were one of the messiest cookies I've ever made, they're actually really, really delicious. I'm gonna try the chicken now. Because I've never made this before, I do want to give it like a little taste test for you. That is not spicy. That is super herby. The cheese is super rich. That is really good. I would actually try all 3 of these recipes. So with that, I'm gonna go eat with Erin. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being part of the channel and watching everything with us and doing everything that we're doing. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. If you ring the bell, you'll get notifications and you won't miss anything that we do on this channel. Thank you for being you. I hope that you are blessed. I hope you have the most beautiful week ahead of you. We will be working hard and bringing you another video. And with that, I hope you come back to see me in the next video. I'll see you guys soon.